YouTube boxing. Is this good for boxing or bad for boxing?
YouTube boxing, that's not boxing at all. Me getting dropped for the first time. In the back of my mind, I know the comments are racing. Oh, finally this YouTube fighter, Instagram fighter got dropped. This is what I was telling you. So all those thoughts come into your mind.
You didn't box for, I think it was a year or close to that, right?
Yep.
What point did you get to where you're like, I need help?
I felt like I was in a maze in my own mind and I couldn't escape. This was the end of everything.
Prediction for the fight, what's gonna happen?
When I'm in there, when he knows that it's a different level type of speed, different level type of power. Prediction for the fight, I say that
Gervonta Davis. Prediction for the fight, what's gonna happen?
Prediction for the fight, I say that I beat him in about 2 rounds.
2 rounds?
Yeah.
Knockout?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I think...
You don't have to tell me strategy. I assume there's some kind of...
Even if I said strategy, he wouldn't be able to figure out. I just think that he's very... I think part of me knows that I'm just better than him. Because that what I've seen from him, what I know about myself, what I know they're underestimating, just by the way he speaks and just how he fights. But, my main thing is I don't think he's really understood adversity in a professional ring ever in his career. I think he's always had an understanding that nothing could go wrong because of the talent he's facing. And I don't think he's ever felt any risk in the ring. When I'm in there, when he knows that it's obviously a different level type of speed, different level type of power, and that I'm not oblivious to the shots he's trying to land, which are sometimes obvious that he throws. I think that he'll start feeling the pressure that this is going to be a lot harder than I may have thought, and I won't let off the gas when I feel that. So, but this is boxing. Just kind of, you have to make adjustments on the fly. This is only what I see from the outside. In the inside, it's going to all play out. But he has.
It feels like taller, longer. He gets frustrated, maybe.
Not that he gets frustrated. I just really don't know if he's ever felt that feeling of how do I figure this out?
Yeah.
Because he's just way stronger than people, and he's way faster than opponents he's been fighting.
Yeah.
Even when he's had problems, he's always known that he could just kind of get up in him and start landing his hard shots because their punches lose their snap because their talent just like they don't have that strong punch to really kind of make him cautious.
Yeah.
To even come in. So. And I think that he's underestimating my intelligence in the ring. I think because I've created my own type of style where it's not really, it's not flashy. Like my defense moves aren't flashy. My, my footwork is not flashy. Everything I do is not flashy, but it's very subtle, and that's why I don't really get hit. If you see my fights, never been bruised in my life. Like I said, I've only been dropped by Luke Campbell. I've only bled one time. These are things that, I know I'm so
What did that
confident
do to you, though, getting dropped by Luke, right? You mentioned he hasn't faced adversity. That's adversity.
Yeah.
What did that do to you?
That really showed me the person that I always believed I am.
Yeah.
When I feel that sense of urgency or adversity and, me getting dropped for the first time, when in back of my mind, I know the comments are racing, right? Like, oh, finally this YouTube fighter, Instagram fighter got dropped. This is what I was telling you. So all those thoughts come into your mind. But I just felt proud of myself because I've always studied, great players, great, not even just boxing,
Athletes in general.
Just the moment where they feel that they could switch. It's almost like they become a robot. I became numb to the situation. I just said to myself, I'm gonna make the best move possible right now. I'm not gonna, I numb myself. I completely became like emotionally detached from that moment. I just said, go do what you're supposed to do in this moment. And that's why I went straight to him. I thought to myself, I know he's gonna expect for me to, curl up, kind of, when you finally, taste something, you're like, some people curl up.
Yep.
I said to myself, I'm gonna go straight to him, and I'm gonna make sure he knows that this fight's not over. Like, I'm here to win.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of myself at that moment.
Yeah, so you've talked a lot about just the business of boxing in general, right? And I think as an outsider, one of the most interesting things is kind of the lead up to these big fights in your career in general, right? I think you probably turned pro at 17, 18, something like that, right? So you're not going to go fight the world champion your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights in the ring. You obviously have to have some build up, get confidence, get experience, all that type of stuff. But why do you think that these fights, these bigger fights of guys that are undefeated at the top of the game, don't happen more often?
I think it has a part. It's part of they're trying to secure the bag.
Yeah.
I think the way boxing's set up, if you don't build your hype, if you don't build your marketability, you can't do big pay-per-views, and all that hard work you've done since you were a little kid really is nothing. So I think they're trying to preserve it. They're trying to build hype, and they're trying to save that. They're saving their for a huge moment so they could get paid. And I think that's one of the hardships of boxing, that you could box your whole life and you make pro and you're gonna still be fighting for $500 to $2,500 and getting your head beat in. When most sports, once you go pro, you pretty much made it. You got bench players getting paid millions of dollars, and
NBA is guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in boxing. One loss could really plummet your market, your place in the market.
Yeah.
So they're trying to preserve it, and they're trying to build their hype. So, it's hard. If boxing was obviously in a different format, it would produce better fights right away. If it was structured like the NBA, NHL, or something like that. But
where you're guaranteed some money basically, and you
because you make pro. It needs to be harder to make pro. That's what it is. If it's going to be organized in a way, because realistically anybody could go pro. The camera guy right here, he could literally apply for a professional boxing license and become a pro. So that's the main problem I think that boxing is facing. That any dude could go pro. Gotcha. And call themselves a professional boxer when they haven't climbed up the ranks in the amateurs. They haven't proved themselves in any way. They just said, I'm going to pick up some gloves and fight.
Yeah, and if you lose 2 fights in your first 10, you're a different draw than someone who's 23-0.
Exactly. But what if those dudes were facing all top guys?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Because the guy 23-0 can look amazing, but he's not.
He's not playing anyone, yeah. How did you get into boxing initially?
I was 7 years. No, I was 6, when I started, I was 7. But I remember I was playing baseball like around 6 years old, and I remember having played a full season, and we were like, I don't know, we got like 4th place of the division, and I would think to myself, these guys are just, I would be so frustrated because they wouldn't put in the effort I felt I was producing. Like, I would die for every ball. I would try to win. And I told my uncle, like, I can't do a sport like this. I remember having the conversation.
You want an individual sport.
I said, is there any sports that are one-on-one, because I can't do this? And he just showed me boxing, and I just said, let's do it. And then I started hitting the mitts, and then I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I like the sound of the punch on the mitt. Like, I like how it sounded. Like, it was a beautiful sound to me. And that's what kind of made me become attracted to boxing. And after that, that's all I ever knew, and that's all I ever done. So
that's 7. At what point do you realize I'm pretty good at this?
I think around 13, 14, after I won like a national championship in Kansas City. It was like the Silver Gloves Nationals, and I said to myself, I feel like I'm pretty good, because like most of the guys aren't beating me. They're not even coming close, and I could do this if I become a national champion. I mean, that's what my uncle always talked about, because he got to the nationals when he was in the amateurs, but he didn't win. But he said that somebody, in his family would make it back here. And then when I got there and I won, I'm like, oh wow, like this is real. Like, I'm the best in the nation. Like that's awesome. And it hit me. I like, you know what? I could probably do this. Yeah.
And you, I'm sure most people know this by now, but you were very early to the social media side of this stuff, right? You were creating content online, you were posting stuff, bags, showing the hands, all that kind of stuff. Was that just for fun, or did you assume that this was going to get to a point where you could leverage it to do things in and outside of boxing?
My intention when I first started it was I want to build my name. I just wanted to gain followers for boxing. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to see how far I could take it. I was impressed how people could gain followers, and I said to myself, you know, I'm a boxer, so I'm gonna try to gain followers through my boxing. And that right there, I kind of sensed that, you know what, I could possibly become a huge fighter through this as well, because I noticed that it was so hard, you know, going kind of the normal route like I seen everybody else. They weren't doing it, and it was like, yeah, they had hype, but they only had hype in a small little community of like boxing fans that kind of follow like the traditional, you know, way to like find out about boxing.
You were like expanding this.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, this is bigger. This is way bigger. This brings way more eyes, and I'm gonna use this to become, you know, a bigger fighter. And then that's what I did, and my dream has always been to put on huge events like Mayweather did, like Oscar De La Hoya did. That was my dream as a kid. To become that. Whatever that was, I wanted to do. And growing up, it transitioned. Now it's like, man, how do I become a man like Muhammad Ali? Or how do I become a man like Manny Pacquiao, where, you know, they stand it on truth, they spoke the truth, and that's where I'm at now. I want to be, you know, I aspire to be people like that.
The business of boxing, though, right, can be kind of nasty behind the scenes at times. A bunch of different people trying to push their interest to the top. Do you think that the social media side has helped you gain leverage in some instances? Like put your name to the front of things, say, I don't need this, I don't need that, I have this audience that I can kind of leverage myself?
Yeah, it gives you more freedom.
Yeah.
It gives you freedom in the business of boxing. If you don't have that, you're kind of you're a slave to the promoters. You're a slave to what they want you to do, and they could put you in with anybody. They could use you as a pawn for other fighters. If you don't have this, it's very hard navigating your career freely and how you know you should do it.
Yeah. As in, if they don't see you as that top talent, they'll use you basically to feed everything else underneath.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a normal day look like for you, like training camp wise?
Training camp wise, I try my best to always run every day, 5 miles, and that's where I kind of do my self-reflection, meditating. I use a run to do that, you know, just to think about, you know, everything. I just love to think when I'm running. And then from there, I go to the boxing gym. Or no, actually, now I kind of do strength and conditioning first, which is with my coach Sip from TNT Facilities, and do that from 12 to 2:30. And then I'm training at boxing with Joe Goosen at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, because I like to train at the same time I'm gonna fight. I made that adjustment last camp, and I felt it went pretty well.
Well, basically, you're not adjusted to, like, if you fight at 9 p.m., you're not adjusted to it, or 10 p.m. if you're fighting at noon training.
Yeah. And gotcha. A lot of boxers, they like to train early so they could do whatever they want in the day. And I'm like, you know what? That's just, I'm in camp already. I might as well put my whole devotion to trying to, you know, recreate how it is going into a real fight. I don't like to guess. Like I want to try to get as close as I can possible to how it actually feels, you know, when you get to the locker room, when you start fighting. So that's what I kind of made the adjustment last camp. Like, you know what? I don't need the whole day to do whatever. Like, that's not, like, that's why I'm here for
fully devoted 100%
So I'm here
of the
for
time.
3 months, 2 months out of my life. It's to devote to perfection, at least coming as close as you can to perfecting your craft.
How many times do you think you'll fight in your career? Right? Because if you fight, what, I don't know, 2-3
like
times.
36 times, 37 times maybe.
Yeah, why do you pick that number?
I don't know.
Just a guess? That's an oddly specific number.
I don't know why. I just like, it popped in my mind. I kind of impulsively just said 36, 37.
All right, I mean, we'll see.
I know. Maybe it's a lucky guess.
You can stop whenever you want, so you might time it up. I don't know.
I pretty much just want to fight more selective. Like, I want to do the big fights now. That's why I kind of chose not to fight this tune-up. I'm over it. You know, I'm over facing people that I just know that it's not going to be a challenge. And that's no disrespect to my opponent that I was going to fight. But I just felt like, as the fans, I've already had enough tune-ups in my mind, especially in this day and age where social media, everybody knows us already. I mean, if I fight this guy that they wanted me to fight, it's not going to make the fight any bigger.
Yeah.
Like, we already announced we were going to fight. There's no point for me to, backtrack. And I thought, for myself, that preparing for Gervonta Davis, strictly just preparing for him, is going to be much more beneficial for me. I'll be able to think more about what I have to do against him, not this guy and then him. You know what I mean? Even though I picked a good opponent, he's southpaw, kind of short. But I just think that I should be focused on the biggest fight of my career. I shouldn't be focused on that. Whatever he wanted to do, that's on him. But I felt kind of forced, and I don't like to feel forced. But, I think also it's a huge risk. We secured the biggest fight of our life, and you potentially could mess it up by getting hurt in a tune-up, right? Anything could happen. I would much rather hurt my hand or hurt my shoulder or something in a fight with Gervonta Davis than a fight, that we're just doing just to do.
Yeah.
So that was my thought process on it.
Yeah. You've, speaking of injuries, you've been through some injuries, I believe, right? What is that process like? Like getting hurt, recovering, mentally, everything.
It's challenging at times to think like, to always have to deal with the self-doubt in your mind. Is my hand going to be okay? Is it going to affect my speed or something? You know what I mean? Yeah. Everything comes at your mind at once, but you just have to figure it out. I don't know. You just got to do it. There's ways to recover. And I think that's what I did. I just said to myself, you know what? When it heals, it heals. And, when I throw it, I just have to, make adjustments. If it's still hurting, then I'll make adjustments. And that's pretty much what I did.
It's better now though, right?
Way better. Like, my right hand's good. And I have no problems throwing it now.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What are you thinking, right? So you mentioned earlier that sometimes you go in the ring and these guys are not as skilled as you, right? You can just tell you've been doing this your whole life. Is that like a confidence, or does that get boring to some degree, I guess? Like, what are you thinking when you enter the ring against them? Is it, hey, let's just go execute my game plan?
Yeah, when you're fighting a guy like not as good as you, you kind of have to still take him serious because you still have to be good. You got to be the guy you're saying you are. What I tell people is you show every man respect.
Yeah.
Every man has a fight in him. But your talent and your skill level will take over. Everybody's good for, the first 3 rounds? Everybody could keep up with pretty much anybody if you're really a boxer, unless you catch them clean and they get
I was going to say,
out.
haven't you knocked some dudes out in like 90
No, but
seconds?
that was just like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like, sometimes you're just like, all right, you're giving me it, I'm gonna take it. But it's when you're fighting a guy that pretty much knows what he's doing, but you're just better than him. Your skill, your talent would take over, but you got to show him respect. And the problem is, some people go in there like he sucks. I'm just gonna go in there. That doesn't work. Things don't work like that.
How much does the crowd play into that? Like, do you listen to the crowd, or are you like trying to put on a show at any time, or is it just sole focus on who you're fighting? Sometimes
I catch things in the crowd. What they're saying. Like, when I was fighting Luke Campbell, I like really remember a guy in the background saying, hit him with the backhand, Luke. Hit him with the backhand, Luke. I just kept hearing that. I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I just tone it out. I could just go after this guy.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like, sometimes I will hear my mom. I hear my dad. But really just my mom and like some random dude. Just out of nowhere.
That's it? That's all you heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. What do you do outside of boxing? Like, what's fun?
I just love having great conversations with people.
Yeah.
I think that's the funnest thing I could do. Hang out with the guys, have funny discussions, I love people. So being around people, talking to, rational people. Some people got some crazy things they say, man.
Speaking of that, you obviously have a big social media presence like we talked about. Fans can get crazy sometimes. Right. You deal with any of that or no?
Sometimes. I try to just...
It seems like you show love when you can, right?
And I try to give people truth, but then some people that are just like so emotional, I just let them be at peace with themselves.
Yeah. But most people probably aren't like that in person, right? It's just online?
No, it's just online.
Just online.
In person, they're more
super
respectful,
nice and
as people should be. It's just online. It's just easy to talk shit and just get away with it, you know, without somebody kind of coming back at you. I don't know.
Did that ever get to you or no?
If it
online
does,
stuff.
if it does get to me, I just get off.
Yeah.
Like if it's affecting my mental health, I'll just get off.
Yeah.
Like I'll just choose to be like, I'm done.
Do you put a lot of time into the social media stuff or no? Is it like, hey, capture a video while I'm training and we'll post it? Or is it like thought out?
No, it's all everything's thought out, from the lighting
Yeah.
to how I look and then I ask myself, if I was watching this and I wasn't me, would I like it?
Yeah.
And then if I say no, I wouldn't, then I wouldn't post it.
Because it started with the quick hands videos, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing at first?
Yeah, I just thought it was cool. You know, one day it was like
Sports Center's like, we'll repost it. You're like, amazing.
it was amazing.
Keep going.
You know, and then the
do
body
another
shot
one.
challenge.
Yeah.
That was cool.
You ever heard anyone doing that?
I did. A couple people.
The ones that were wearing the what do you call it or not?
No, they wear it. It's just the people that actually want to do the real challenge, where you put them on the wall, and then you hit them just as hard as you can. That's the ones that get hurt.
That they get hurt, yeah.
But the ones that like they're standing like say in an open space and they could absorb it and back up.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt as much because you're taking away the shot.
Yeah.
But when you're against the wall,
There's no give.
There's no give.
We're not gonna do that, all right?
No.
I'm all set on that.
We'll try though.
No, maybe. Fatherhood.
Yeah.
Has that been helpful in the grand scheme of all of this?
Not really boxing wise. I
Yeah.
feel like, I've always been inspired to be a great fighter. That
Yeah.
never changes. That's something in here. It's just the will to win, the will to figure it out. Fatherhood has really taught me just to become a more responsible, adult, and just show them, a great example of how a father should be and how he should, handle himself in a way. So it's always in your mind. You want to be the best version of yourself for your little person.
Yeah.
Guide them to become a good person when they grow up.
I feel like it probably has to make you grow up in some instance, right?
It does.
You were young when you started all of this kind of stuff, and I don't know about you, but when I was 17, 18, 19, I was doing tons of stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just what it is, right? You're not mature enough to realize some of these things, and maybe that helps in some instance.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm just so blessed to have my two girls. It's crazy that I just have girls, though. Not one boy, man.
Well, you got to carry on.
No, it's awesome,
the
though. Being a girl dad is amazing. They're so sweet to me, and it's a love that can't be explained.
Yeah.
You're willing to do anything for them and actually do it.
Yeah.
Die for them. It's a different type of love.
I like that. Anyone you look up to in boxing? On the business side or the actual fighting side?
Look up to just Manny Pacquiao, maybe.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao.
And why him? Because of everything he does outside the ring?
Yeah, I love when people stand for something, and don't let just, don't be so absorbed of themselves. They want to give to others, whether it's, with knowledge or if it's, helping out homeless or some way, somehow. You're giving something to everybody else, I think that's...
Using your platform,
I think
basically.
that's just the most important thing to do just in life in general.
Yeah.
To leave a mark some way, somehow. And I think that's the true mark, just boxing is just a little thing, It gives you the platform to speak, but that's where truth is needed for speaking truth and being just, you give a part of yourself to, this world and your purpose. I think that's important. I think Manny Pacquiao has done a lot of that. And he's an 8-time division world champion in 8 different... Nobody has ever done that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think, without a doubt, he's the best fighter of this generation. I know that people will, disagree because they'll say Floyd, which Floyd is a great fighter, don't get me wrong, will go down as one of the best. But you can't... historically, you can't deny that this man's coming from flyweight, just the littlest of little,
yeah.
and winning world champions in so many different weight classes. That's unheard of, and it'll never be done. I don't think it'll ever
I was going
be
to
done.
ask if you have aspirations to do that, right? Move up
Yeah.
weight classes at some point and try to win.
That's pound for pound. That's literally pound for pound. Like some people say, oh, he's pound for pound best. No, but he did it.
Yeah.
He showed he went through every division and did it. I have aspirations just to be great, to win. I'm not going to be coming from flyweight.
Yeah, all the way.
I'm just too big. But I want to give great fights, and I want to be dominant in every fight. And I'll see where life takes me. That's pretty much it.
YouTube boxing. Is this good for boxing or bad for boxing?
YouTube boxing is good if there's a right balance. At some point, it becomes bad for boxing because then that's what people are going to assume boxing is.
Yeah.
That's not boxing at all. That's just...
Well, I feel like there's different levels to this too, right? Like Jake Paul, who I would argue is actually doing some good, right? I think he's trying to fight. He trains really hard. He's like putting an effort into this.
Right.
I don't think he's going to be a world champion at any point, but I think he's trying, right? And then you have like TikTokers who are going in the ring and no experience, no training, no nothing, and just trying to throw haymakers at each other. Is that kind of where you see the split?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jake, you have to respect it because he's going down the route of a professional fighter.
Yeah.
He's fighting people. I know he's fighting MMA fighters, but there's many boxers with 6-5 fights fighting MMA fighters.
There's a lot of people who wouldn't step in the ring with Tyron Woodley.
Right,
I would
100%.
argue,
Even
right?
if they're just coming up as an amateur, they just wouldn't do it. Although, what weight division is he?
I don't know.
I think cruiserweight. That's a hard division to compete with the best guys in.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that he won't ever get to that level. It'd be hard for him.
Why? Because basically these guys have been doing it forever. It's just like repetition at this point.
Yeah, not only that, they're just, those guys are huge. Like those cruiserweights are much bigger than Jake. Right now he's been fighting guys that, not that they're smaller, they're just actually they are smaller.
Yeah.
But
How much of the difference does that, like the height and the reach and all of that make? Because I'm assuming that's a part of the reason why you think you have an advantage over Gervonta, right?
Yeah, and I just think I'm better, but no, seriously, I do think I'm better. But the weight is a huge part in boxing.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 pounds could make that's why they say, oh, he's moving up. Mm-hmm. That's why what Manny Pacquiao did was so amazing because weight is huge. I mean, I'm never gonna beat, cruiserweights or, heavyweights. I mean, no matter how good I am, how strong I think I am, when I get to the high level, they're gonna dominate me. There's nothing you could do about it. So, weight classes matter. But I do. But going back to Jake, I think that what he's done is very impressive. Like the one-punch knockouts, that's not easy. I don't care what anybody says. Even as professional fighters, there's not many professional fighters that even have one-punch knockouts.
Yeah.
Like where he slept Tyron Woodley. That's impressive. So I think I'm very excited to see what he does with his career and how far he could take it. I'm all behind what he's gonna do.
Yeah. Speaking of weight, what's the weight cutting process look like? I'm always fascinated with this stuff because I feel like I've talked to some people and they're like, yeah, no problem. I only have to cut 5-10 pounds. It's not huge. And then some people, it's literally like the worst thing ever and they don't want to do it every single fight. Where are you on that kind of spectrum?
Weight cutting, it sucks.
Yeah. And what are you doing? You're not eating food. You're not drinking water.
It's just calorie. Your intake on calories is going to be less than your burning. Obviously, a lot of fasting. At a certain point, now you're going to be watching your water intake.
Closer to the fight.
Yeah, like 2 weeks maybe before the fight, you start watching. Like, I can't drink 3 pounds of water. I'm now drinking only 2 pounds of water or a pound of water. And you're
still training this whole time, right?
Yeah, and you got to just make sure that every day you're losing some amount of weight. If you're waking up at this amount, tomorrow morning you're going to wake up at this amount. And you just got to stay disciplined before you know it. You're almost there.
Yeah.
And then you just keep sweating out the final pounds. It's just a process of discipline. That's it.
Yeah.
Just hard discipline, and just you're not even thinking about it. You're just gonna do it.
Yeah. Have you ever had a close call on that or no?
No. I go, like I said, I go into a place in my mind. I'm losing this weight. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. And fasting, it's like intermittent fasting in the morning, or
that's what I do.
That's what you do. You do that on like non-training camp too, or just training camp?
Yeah. A lot of the times I just love fasting. It actually gives me more energy. People like wonder like,
I do the same thing. I don't eat breakfast.
Yeah. For me,
and I feel like I'm like sharper the last like 3 hours of the morning, like 9 to 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like I feel much sharper. and then it's great when you eat like that first meal. It's like a huge meal, and you feel amazing. And then you probably don't eat a big dinner, right?
No,
I mean, good size, but not,
No, I'll just I always kind of assess when I'm eating, am I satisfied? I am. I don't need to keep on going.
Yeah.
I feel good here. If
Yeah.
I push it, it does make you feel groggy. Sometimes eating too much makes you foggy brain. I just keep on trying to find that balance and keep sharp. Keep sharp mentally and feel strong.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I learned this when one time I cut a lot of weight and then I just ate a bunch because I cut so much weight, but it made me feel slower. It made me feel lethargic. It made me feel...
You're talking about from weigh-in until
weight,
the fight?
Yeah, so I learned that only gaining 8 pounds after the weigh-in...
That still sounds like a lot.
Is necessary, but a lot of it's water weight. Though.
Okay, yeah.
But it's necessary that it don't go more than 8 to 10 pounds. Anything more, you've done too much.
Yeah.
You got to watch your electrolyte intake and everything because you're not going to be as sharp mentally. It's just too much of a shock on your body.
Well, and at that point, you've probably been doing it for so long where you're not you get sick almost, right? If you eat too much or you do, you try to overdo it, I assume.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the things I want to talk about is mental health in general. You've been, I think, pretty open about this kind of stuff and things you've struggled with in the past. I obviously want to be mindful of the fact that it's your life. You share what the hell you want to share, right? But you didn't box for, I think it was a year or close to that, right?
Yep.
While you were going through some of this stuff. Can you just talk about that period in general and kind of some of the stuff you were dealing with and how you got over it?
It definitely was one of the hardest, moments in my life, especially recently. It was tormenting, not really understanding why it's happening and why it won't stop, your thoughts. I felt like I was in a maze in my own mind and I couldn't escape. And it was eating me up. And then, it just was relentless. That's why it's not so much like people often think it's like an emotional thing. It's not. It's just I wasn't even emotional about it. I just wish it stopped. I wished whatever was going on in my brain would just give me a break, but it wouldn't. And I got super depressed. I just thought that this was the end of everything. I kept on trying to rationalize why it's happening to me. I kept on thinking, maybe I'm just sick, or maybe it's just I kept on trying to rationalize it, but really
it's boxing, right?
Is it because I get hit? What is it? All those thoughts come into your brain. Now looking back at it, I think it could have been maybe exhaustion, and I went to therapy. I took all the right steps to try to figure this out, and I never really found that true answer to why or what. It was really a moment where you find out that, talking and just being open and explaining, taking it process by process really helped me. Like me, if I sat with you and I said, I'm feeling this and that, and you were helping me work through every thought, that really helped me. Like knowing that.
Yeah, you were probably closed off to some degree before, right?
Yeah, because you think you can handle it, yourself, and you're just trying to be tough, and it wasn't that. It was just having open discussion with people and hearing how they dealt with it, what things that would help with them, and then
Have you carried some of that over, I assume, to today?
Yeah, a part of me does. And what funny thing is I said this on Bradley Martin's podcast, was there was a moment where I was playing poker and I something just hit me, and it was like, wow, this whole time I'm reacting off emotion so much, and I'm reacting off of feeling, and I'm letting my feelings guide me, when it's really about truth. It's like, don't trust your feelings, trust the truth. And then always, filtering that out with every mental attack, every, doubt, everything is like you battle it with truth. And when I came to that enlightenment, I was like, wow, if only I knew this when I was going through that, because all these thoughts came in my mind, and I felt it was really happening to me. I felt like I really was sick. I felt like I really was, having maybe CT or something, but I wasn't. I didn't battle it with truth. I let my mind self-sabotage me, and then I was trapped in there. And it was so hard to unlock because everything's spiraling.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance to self-reflect and battle it with truth. And then right there is when I kind of turned the edge. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I could just battle all this with truth. And I know in hindsight, like it's easy.
I was gonna say, because like looking back, it's obvious probably to some degree to you, right? You're like, this makes so much sense. I just need to be honest with myself and do all of this.
Right.
But in the moment, I assume that was like nowhere near your mind, right?
It was hard.
Yeah. Was there like, what point did you get to where you're like, fuck, I need help, right? Like I need to go figure this out.
When I couldn't train, I couldn't do anything. I was bawling out, crying all the time. The moment I stepped outside. So at that moment, I knew, all right, I gotta just get help.
Yeah.
I gotta figure this out. And yeah, after that moment, I was like, okay, yeah, let's take the steps. There has to be an answer somewhere.
You like poker?
Sometimes.
When you're winning?
Yeah. I just like that moment of what it taught me is kind of like.
Well, it's a good metaphor for life, I think.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you play a lot or if you.
I do. I've stopped recently, but if it's a good
You're
game,
losing too much?
Not that I was losing too much. I was like, oh my gosh, this is taking too much of my time.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Because it's fun, like it's relaxing. There's nothing like being at a poker table. It's like you feel stress free.
Yeah.
You're just looking at cards.
Chilling.
Yeah, it's chilling.
Yeah. Talk to me about the state of boxing, just in general, like the business of boxing, what you think is good, what you think is bad, what you think the future looks like.
Boxing, I think where it's at right now, it's good. I think that it's in a good state. I think that there's really good talent right now.
Yeah.
You have myself, Gervonta, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez. A lot of great talent in the sport right now. And a lot of personality, a lot of passion. And I think that's going to be, healthy for the sport. That you need those personalities and those characters to keep it thriving and talent. I think the politics is at an all-time high.
And that's no good for the sport?
And that's not good for the sport. So that's what's hurting it in a way, because we can't put on those fights that we want to do, because if you're not with, X promotion company, you're not going to make the fight unless a miracle happens.
Talk me through that though. Like, how does that, I'm assuming a lot of people are going to watch this that have no idea how some of that kind of stuff works.
Yeah.
Talk me through just like that conversation. You go to someone and you say, hey, I want to fight Gervonta. How does that even work? How do they decide whether that's a good fight to make or not? Does it just come down to the money?
It comes down to the ability to, want to work with that person first. Some people just don't want to work with certain people. That's just what it is. They don't want to give them the business. And they'll rather keep on making a lot of money with just their house and their promotion company. They don't want to, they don't care about what's a great fight. They care about how much money are they going to make with their guy, which is a business move, right?
But it's not always good for the fans.
It's not good for the fan or the sport.
Yeah.
Because then you don't get the fights that you want to see. So, the only way it works is if you have two fighters that absolutely don't take no for an answer. Like, I took no for an answer. When they said yeah, I was not going to let that fight slip. It would never be on my end. It would have to be their move to mess it up, because I was willing to do it and I was trying to figure out every way possible. So there is a way. It just takes a lot of, you got to let go of all your, like, sometimes you just don't let your pride get in the way. Don't let your ego. This is bigger than me. I really wanted to give the fans the fight they wanted. And that was where my heart was. And I wasn't going to let it slip. So I did everything in my power just to, you know what? Most people probably would have been like, fuck you guys. You guys are horrible. You guys are just trying to take every advantage, whatever. But not me, especially not for this fight. I was like, nah.
It's interesting because I feel like like maybe somewhere like UFC has an advantage in that category, right? Because it's all in-house. They get to make the fights they want and all of that. But then I had Francis Ngannou on the show, right? And he hates the structure, right? He's like, look, I'm on this deal. They keep extending it, extending it. I'm now at this age. I'm the champion. I'm making shit money to what I should be making in a free market. And he wants to go to boxing. Right, so I feel like there's kind of this division in both sports to some degree of people that are unhappy with kind of how the situation, the fight making or the contracts work.
Right.
Do you think that's a fair assessment of kind of the situation?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair because obviously the top boxers are making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And UFC fighters, I mean, from what I've seen, they're not making as much. But
yeah, it's like
I mean, there has to be a balance somewhere. It's just more thinking, but.
Would you ever do UFC or no? No interest.
Not worth it for me.
No. Yeah. Get paid less money and
I have to
more choke
stuff.
people. And
I gotta get choked
and
my leg twisted. Now I'm good.
Yeah. All right. Talk to me about your business specifically. Is this something you spend a lot of time on? Is it something, hey, I just want to be the best fighter I can and all of this will work out? How do you think about your business in general and building your business?
I try my best to really keep my focus on obviously boxing, but social media too. I think that's where all my businesses thrive anyways. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the hub. It's where everything started. So
I'm assuming when brands come to you, that's like a big portion of it, right?
It is a big portion. So I kind of really, try to put a lot of my time into thinking, how can I grow this? How can I keep it going? In boxing, now it's about the biggest fights. So that's how I'm thinking now. I've built my name to a point where now I can have the big fight. This is all I've ever worked for, and now I can do it. So that's what I'm focused on, is doing big fights and promoting it well through my social media. But as that progresses, I want to do something now more for everybody else. I think I want to create, maybe one day my own promotion company. Why
do more boxers not do that? I think a lot of, my feeling on it, right, is a lot of people look at what Mayweather did and they're like, that was genius. He did such a great job. He made so much money. It was amazing. But I don't think they understand kind of what it takes to be able to do something like that, right?
It's not easy.
Yeah. Talk me through that, why people don't do it, why there's a challenge in all of that.
It's complicated. It takes a lot of time. You got to know the right people. You got to have a great team around you. It's getting all those pieces together. It takes a lot of money. Some boxers are not making all the money, so they can't build a structure of, a promotional company. So that's probably why. And I mean, I want to do it. Obviously.
But you're talking about more for you or other fighters too, like having people underneath that umbrella?
Yeah, for other people.
Yeah.
I want to create like a social media team for them too. I want to build their brands. I want to just, give them a chance to make a lot of money, which they deserve, because they fought their whole lives for it. So that's what I want to do during my whole career. I want to build that, bring them up, and teach them the ropes on how to grow their brand and how to make the most out of their career.
Yeah. Are most fighters interested in the social media stuff, or they don't care? Even today,
a lot of people they have so much ego and pride, like they just think it's silly, and I'm like,
why are you spending your time on that?
Why is it silly? Like, why is it silly?
Well, you tell me you make money doing it, and then
no, it's like, why are you calling this corny?
Yeah.
Why, like, what? Like, I sometimes I just think to myself, it's like, is it just I don't know, is it just their nature that they can't think that this is smart to do? Like, this is the thing where it's so easy too. Like, you just post and see what it does good and what doesn't do good, and then you just kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, if people hate on it and kind of have a, a lot of boxers, they really say to myself, like, oh, that's corny. Like, that's not, like, they just have, I don't know, maybe it's just.
I feel like in some instance too, I'm sure fans do it to some degree too. They say stuff like that and it's perceived as a negative or a slight. But in your mind, I almost feel like you're probably like, no, you're probably pretty dumb here, right? Like, this is something you should be taking seriously.
Yeah, I really do think they should be taking it serious.
Yeah.
I do think it's dumb
when
they say things like that. Because then you're not doing the best thing for your career. Mm-hmm. You're just hoping that you land a big fight, but it doesn't work like that, especially in this business.
I was going to say it's something too that, say you're 25, 30 years old and you say, I don't want to box anymore. You have that forever. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's something that's
Yeah,
not
that's
going
true.
away.
That's also true. It builds something for after the ring too.
Yeah,
So all those things combined, like, the smartest thing to do.
I love that. What's next after the Davis fight?
I think probably I want to fight Lomachenko after I fight Davis.
Why him?
I just think that's a dope fight.
Just keep going.
Well, he's to me, I just think he's such a great fighter. I want to fight him. I think he's just so technical, has great. He's 3-time gold medalist. Just for me, I go from Davis to Lomachenko. I think that's pretty.
No tune-ups in between.
No. And then after that, I want to fight Devin Haney. So those are that's kind of like my hit list on where I want to go.
3 in a row. Knockouts?
3 in a row, yeah. I only fight to knock you out. I fight to squeeze you and knock you out some way.
Do you get mad if you don't knock someone out?
I do.
Yeah.
Even in sparring.
Really?
Yeah.
In sparring, you try to knock them out? I thought that was like a.
I just feel like I've done it so many times. If I don't do it, I'm like, have I lost my power?
Do people talk? Do people talk shit in sparring or no?
It could get crazy like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could get emotional.
Yeah, you spar the same guys or different people
Sometimes I spar. If they last, yeah, I spar the same guy.
until it ends, and then
Till it ends, yeah.
you bring someone else in. I love that. All right, man. This is awesome. Thank you so much. I had a bunch of fun. I will. When's the fight? April?
April, yeah, in April. It's in April.
In April. All right. Good luck.
I'll have the exact date soon.
Soon. All right. Good luck. And thank you so much for your time.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.